Storytime. Today we're going to talk about ways he's tried to kill me. So, I guess we'll start with the one way back in the beginning. No, these are just the ones that I'm absolutely positive over. There are other instances where I'm not quite sure or had no proof of. So, this doesn't include everything, and it would probably be a 2-hour long video if I did that. So, and I've noticed my videos are like averaging an hour long. And I don't know if that's too long for people, but sorry, there's a lot to tell. So I guess I'll give details leading up to when he first joined the military and we got a place in Colorado. He was just coming back from his 8-month-long tour in South Korea. I had just had our second daughter. I was gone, and I come home because I had forgotten something. And I walked in the front door, and the computer's like, when you first walk in the front door, you're in the living room, but it goes, the living room stretches all the way across the house, and then there's a nice giant archway into the dining room, and it's an open kitchen. So it's like this big round thing around a wall, a T-shaped wall. Well, it would have been the other way. But anyway, so you have a visual. And when I walk in the door, the computer is sitting on the T right here. So you can perfectly see. And he had his pants down and was doing his thing with Michelle on the computer. And Michelle was somebody that he was with in high school. They had dated for a while. He felt the need to reach out to her the day that we got married to let her know that he was married now. But anyway, when I caught him in the middle of that, it made me decide to like start going through the computer, and because I didn't check up on him like that. But at this time, it was early on in the relationship, and there had been signs that he was off, but I had just moved all the way across the country with him for the military with our kid, and I was heavily pregnant, and I was like, well, maybe it's something we can, work out. We tried going to marriage counseling and doing marriage retreats with the military and doing all this kind of different shit. But I decided to start going through the computer. And when I was doing that, I had stumbled upon a Match.com profile. And I believe his chosen name on there was I Am God. But his profile was this sob story about how I had died. And he was in the military, and he was a homeless soldier and he was homeless because he was sending all of his money to his mom, who had our 2 children. And that he was eating out of garbage cans. And this was right before he slit my wrists and cut my neck, when he drugged me. And I have a hard time with this story because there are holes in it for me. Because he drugged me. And trying to recall it brings back the flashing of the images in my head of those moments. And I was going to try really hard not to cry. So I'm going to try and compose myself here. Oh, okay. Come on, bitch. Get it together. Okay. Anyway. And he had started looking at me with this look in his face, and it's so snake-like. It's this smirk that he knows something you don't. It gives off that air. It's a very cocky, conniving look. It's something he does with his eyes, and like how he holds his eyebrows, and he'll tip his head down just so, and so he can look at you from the tops of his eyes, and just the corners of his mouth do this thing, and it makes your fucking skin crawl. I confronted him about this Match.com profile, and that, of course, made me dig even deeper. Of course, I found more evidence of all of the stuff he was saying to Michelle. I'm sure if I dug deep enough in my shit, I could probably locate screenshots of some of their conversations where he was telling her that he was going to be with her, and she asked him about the children, and he responded with something along the lines of, give him a little bit of time. All he needed to do was get rid of me. And I confronted him with all of this stuff. And I had made a phone call to some part of my foster family to come and get me and the kids. And they were packing up their vehicle, like ready to go on a family road trip. Come get me and the kids. And then he tells me he's not going to let me take the kids. And that if I try to take the kids, he'll have me arrested as soon as we cross state lines. And he will have the military to help him with lawyers and everything. And that if that's what I decided to do, he would make sure that he would be able to keep the kids because he's been the only one that's allowed to have a job. And he would make their life hell until I came crawling back and begged him to take me back. He told me he would hurt them. He didn't get into specifics. But it was... he had already proven to me that the children didn't matter to him. They were to be used for leverage, essentially. And I knew he would have kept me barefoot and pregnant the whole time. So I fought with my doctors to get my tubes tied at 20 years old. I signed all kinds of paperwork and waivers, and I even had to grab him during surgery after he told me he wasn't going to do it, and tell him that if he didn't, the next kid I got pregnant with, I'd be coming after him for. All the paperwork's already done. I don't want any more children with this man. Around that time, he had been a fueler for helicopters. I decided I was going to start the cashback feature. Was really nice. And I had started getting cash back on the days that I would do my grocery shopping, because I was allowed to do that. And I had saved up so much money, trying to hide it little bits at a time. And in the beginning of those things, he didn't think to check on the receipts and stuff. I budgeted very well for groceries, so I was able to like save money here but make up for it in cash back, so that he didn't think that I didn't want to make him suspicious. I guess I'm going to go back to, it's hard to talk about. I've been kind of avoiding going back to it, but I guess I'm at the point in the story where now I need to talk about it. His mom had come and got both of my girls, and it was supposed to be for a week, maybe 2 weeks, because it was the other granddaughter's birthday. We were in Colorado, they were in Texas. When I didn't want the girls to go, Nick had concocted this plan with his mother. And I think that he wanted them with her because he knew he was going to try and kill me. And if I can't go with my children, I'm not going, because I'm not leaving them with him. Sorry, it makes me feel so many things. Anger among them. He wanted to do very specific things to me sexually. And I wasn't okay with a lot of those things. While I was digging around in the computer and his phone, I found him trying to figure out how he could make roofies at home. Scouring the internet for recipes. And I tucked that in my memory bank. I did confront him with that too. When, like, that morning was weird. Okay, so he told me basically that since I didn't leave, I belonged to him and that this is how life was going to be. And I I didn't I just sat and listened basically to him yammer on about like all of these rules that were going to be implemented into our lives and all of this stuff, right? And he wanted me to drink. And I'm not a drinker. I've never been a drinker. I drink a couple times a year, maybe. Like I just I grew up around alcoholics. It's not something I want in my life. I just anyway, um he wanted me to drink. And when I do drink though, I drink frou-frou liquors, I guess you could call them. I like the fruity shit. This stuff that I can mix a bunch of it together and it's nothing but liquor, but it tastes like a glass of juice. Like that's what I like to do. But I have a pretty high tolerance for that. Like I don't seem to get drunk easy. Okay. I don't understand why. I should be a lightweight. And I don't know. I haven't drank anything in over, I don't know. It's been a long time. Well over a year. But like my birthday and New Year's are the only 2 days I might do it. I feel like I never just, I never got into that scene. But anyway, he was insistent that I drink this day, and it was early in the morning. And he told me he wanted to make me a drink. He's out in the kitchen, and I'm like, what's taking so long? It took him like 20 minutes to make this fucking drink. And he brings it out to me, and it's in a tall, clear kitchen glass. You know, them old glasses, they were round and they had like the twist pattern going up, and the glass was almost blue. One of those. And the whole time that he's telling me about like all of this stuff, he's pushing me to drink this drink through a straw. Like I couldn't just. Weird. I just realized I think he's the reason I drink everything out of straws. Even my coffee. I've recently been made aware that that's weird. So I guess I just had a light bulb moment. They happen. When you recall different things, other shit starts to click into place. Or you'll make weird self-awareness realizations like that just was. Probably because He was keeping me fed. Oh, the poisoning makes so much more sense now. Because he was stirring that in my coffee. We'll get to that. Okay. Sorry. See? I'll probably do that a lot. I'll have light bulb moments, and some of them I might say out loud, and other ones I'll probably keep to myself. But going back to this, so he's like forcing this drink on me, and at some point he pulls me into his lap, and he's like, literally, the glass is in my hand, and he's like pushing it up so that I gotta finish it. And I think there was only like this much left in the cup, and I started feeling really weird. Like my body kind of felt heavy and weighted down, and I started feeling slumpy in his lap, and his voice started to distort, and I was like trying to make sense of what he was saying because I was listening very intently, trying to commit it to memory. And I lose control of myself, just everything starts to. And then I remember feeling like this intense anger. And in the moment, I don't know where it came from. And I'm listening to him say all this stuff. And he's telling me all of these depraved things he wants to do to me sexually. And I don't, before I could even realize it was coming out of my mouth, because I have a history of sexual abuse. That's why I don't talk to my own father. That's a different story time. But it was like it triggered something in me, and I looked at him and I said, if you touch me like that and you do those things to me, I swear I'll slit your throat like the pig you are. And I was shocked that it even came out of my mouth. Like, that, where did my filter go? And then the next thing I knew is he threw me off of his lap, and I was laying on the floor, and he ran to the kitchen, and I could hear him messing with silverware. And then I don't have a memory from that moment. Like, I think I blacked out on the floor. And then my next memory, where I come back into it, we are on the kitchen floor, and like I was sitting up, like he had a hold of my arms and my hands, and he had a knife in his hands, and he had my hands wrapped around the knife, and he was trying to get me to push it into him.
And I pulled, like, when I come to and I realize what's happening, I pulled back. And when I pulled back with the knife, I started flipping out. And, like, there was a island in our kitchen. And we were on the side closest to the living room at that time. Sorry, I'm replaying it in my head as I'm telling the story. But when I pulled the knife back, I guess it cut his hand. And he was bleeding. I guess it cut him pretty deep, but I don't think he was expecting me to, like, wake up in that moment. I think he was planning on, like, making it look like I stabbed him and then he killed me in self-defense. Like, I really feel like that was his plan, because both my wrists were already slit and my neck was cut already. But I wasn't awake for that. Like, I feel like he thought I would just fucking bleed out and he would. But he was trying to get me to stab him, like, under his rib cage, kind of. Like, right here, you know? Like, that's where it would have been on him. When he was. And he had his hands, like, wrapped around my hands and he was pulling it towards him, like. Okay, anyway. So I run around the island and I'm, like, dodging him, you know, like you would with a kid you're playing with, or a dog, you know, you're playing Ring Around the Rosie. And at that point, like, I remember I held the knife out and I pointed it at him and I told him to stay the fuck away from me. And he went and got his phone. Like, he ran and got his phone and he called, I think, his first sergeant in the military. And then, like, he's talking to him on the phone, telling him that I was threatening to commit suicide and everything else. Like, and of course, I'm, like, hollering in the background, saying things, and then I lose it again. Like, I black out again. And the next thing I wake up to is there's, like, 8 fucking cops on top of me. And that, like, I'm handcuffed on the floor. And his first sergeant is standing in my dining room, because that's where I was on the floor at. And I'm, like, pushing to get up because I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is happening. And they're talking about I need to go out the front door and let the ambulance people help me. Like, I don't remember none of these sirens or, like, any of these people showing up at all. And at first I want to say I fucking told them no. Like, I don't understand what's happening. And, like, I remember him taking the handcuffs off me in the gurney. And I am fighting passing out again. Like, my adrenaline's through the roof, but I'm actively trying to be aware of what's going on. Like, trying to fight the drugs in my system. Because now I know there's people here and I can tell them what happened. But I couldn't, like, I tried to tell the ambulance tech. They wheeled me up into the ambulance and we just sat there. And of course, they're like backed up almost to the front door. And I'm trying to scream at Nick, like, don't kill my kids, don't kill my kids. And I tried to tell this ambulance tech, like, he's gonna kill my kids. You don't understand. And I screamed and I screamed and I screamed, and nobody listened. They took me to the hospital. I don't remember the ride at all. I woke up in the hospital after all of my stitches were already done. The ambulance tech was working on this one when I was screaming at him. They had this arm chained to the bed and this arm chained to the bed. And as soon as I woke up, I remember I gotta get to my kids. So I wiggled this one free. And I undid this one. And about the time I started ripping my IVs and everything out, they came in the room. And instead of listening to me, they sedated me. And I went through that more than once. After I got out the first time, they made it tighter, and I got out again. So then they made it really tight. Like my hand was asleep when I woke up the next time. Then I spent a couple of days in a psych ward before he called me, or before I called him, while he was out gallivanting with a woman from his unit. Made me beg for him to come and get me. And then made me wait an extra day before he did. As some sort of, like, punishment for the whole ordeal. The next time I thought I was gonna die, he had instituted all of these rules, like I said. And I had just gotten the girls back. We had to threaten his mother to bring them back because she decided that this arrangement she made with Nick, you know, getting extra money and then being able to apply for state benefits and all of this other stuff when you have children living with you. She decided it was really beneficial and she wanted to keep it. So when Nick decided it was time for her to return my children, she didn't want to return them. So we had to threaten her with coming down there with cops and filing kidnapping charges and everything else because we were tired of her extorting money from us in exorbitant ways, and her making all of these excuses as to why she could not return our children. So the children had just come back with us, and Nick did this thing where he tied me up and just uses me for whatever he wants to use me for. And I was at the point where I was broken. Like that it really broke me the first time he did that. And afterwards, he unties me, and I didn't say anything. I just got up and walked to the bathroom. I guess I was on autopilot, processing. I turned on the water, about as hot as it could go, and I just sat in the tub. And he comes in there, disrupting my peace. Leaves the door wide open, kneels down on the floor next to the bathtub, and starts telling me how much he loves me. How sorry he is. Then he leans into the tub and he grabs me and tries to pull me close to him. And I pulled away. And then he starts like getting on top of me almost to hug me. And at that point, I pushed him away. I didn't turn the shower or anything off. I just bolted. And I went straight to the bedroom. I had grabbed my towel on my way out the bathroom door. It was like one swift, fluid motion. I didn't want him to touch me anymore. And my towel started to fall. I tripped over it in the doorway in the bedroom. And I fell on my knees, and I just kind of like picked my towel up and threw it on my back, covered myself, and I huddled there, and I was like, fuck it. This is where I'm gonna stay for a minute. And I was listening for him, but I didn't want him to know that I could see him. So I had my head down and my hair was down and wet, and I was watching him through my strands of hair. And I heard him shut the water off and make everything, put everything into sorts into the bathroom. I just used that moment to breathe for a second, because I knew he wasn't going to let up, and he came out from the bathroom, around the dining room, into the kitchen. And our bedroom doorway kind of faced the kitchen. I could see right in there. And he grabbed a knife out of the strainer, and I thought, yep, here it comes. Like, I'm fucking ready at this point. Come get it over with. And he cut his own hand. Pretty fucking deep. I watched him take his hand and saw into it, like Really? And then he came over, he put the knife down, and then came over to me, and I'm like, wait, he put the knife down. What kind of sick game is this? And before he got to me, like, I bowed my head. I didn't want him to think that I had been watching him. And he kneels down on the floor in front of me, and he grabs my chin and pushes it up, and he tells me to look at him. And I looked at him. And he shoves his hand in my face, his cut one, in my face, and tells me, "Do you see what you did to me? You did this to me. And I'm still sitting here with you. Do you see how much I love you? Look." And he had grabbed my hands with his other hand, his empty hand, not the one that was bleeding. And I pushed his hands back to him, and I kicked back off of him, and I was like, you are not about to sit here and tell me that I did that shit to you. I watched you do that shit to yourself, and you're gonna come over here and you're gonna tell me that I did that to you? I said, no, go fuck yourself. Get away from me. Absolutely fucking not. No. And I don't remember what happened after that. I want to say he got pissed off, got up, and walked away. I got dressed, and it was like him accusing me of doing that to him is kind of what snapped me out of autopilot mode. Like, you're going to tell me, excuse me? This, no. No. I didn't fucking do that shit to you. No. And the whole trying to make me stab him, that is all I could think about when he said that, because I was still trying to connect the dots with those memories at that time, and I guess I still kind of try to. But anyway, because when I got home, the only thing that was washed was the cup that he gave me to drink out of that day and the knife that was involved in the incident. His blood was all over the kitchen floor still. There was still dirty dishes left over from the night before. And it had been several days since, and there really wasn't any new dirty dishes either, which tells me he really hadn't been there. He was staying the night with another woman. Let's see. What's the next one? There will probably end up being part 2s because I keep finding more, and I keep remembering different things. Like, one memory will spark another, or, after I'm done with this video, I will probably later on have a recollection of another thing that I forgot about until that moment. There's so many fucked up things that they become your normal. And when they become your normal, it's easier to forget about the littler ones because it's the big ones that stick to you. And it takes a while sometimes for the little ones to rear their ugly little memory heads and remind you, oh, hey, this happened too. It's time for you to remember this one now. Okay, so let's see. After I got back from the mental hospital from the slits on my wrists and whatnot, he told me that he always had a fantasy about watching the life leave somebody's eyes, and that one day he would do it to me. And if I tried to leave, there was a whole lot of desert around where we were at, and it would be easy for him to make me disappear. Like, he made it very clear that if I was going to have to deal with this, and if I tried to leave, the things that he was going to do was going to far outweigh life with him. And he made it impossible to try to leave. I did reach out to different people through the years to ask for help, but they would always go tell him, and then it would have repercussions for me. The next time that I can remember him threatening my life was when he made me watch a woman get beheaded. He found out that I had been using the cashback feature at different stores to save money. And he found out that I was getting ready to leave because I had reached out for help, and instead of helping me, they went and gave him a talking to. After I begged and pleaded with them not to. I don't know what that conversation was, but after he found out, for several days, he was overly sweet, almost sickly so. I walked on eggshells. And then one day he came out to the garage, because that was my place at the time, was the garage. And he called me inside and told me he wanted to show me something. He sits me down in his computer chair, and he puts his arms on either side of me and tells me, like, gets down low in my face, tells me that he's got this video he wants me to watch. And he turns me around, and I'm looking at the screen, and the title of the video is Mexican Woman Gets Beheaded for Trying to Leave Her Husband. And it was on this website called eFukt. EFUKT. Very real video. And there's subtitles on it, like they're talking in Spanish, but somebody put the subtitles up, and there is this dude in a white suit, and he's like swinging a sword, fucking yelling at her, and she's down on her knees in this desert. And there's 3 dudes behind her, and there's obviously one dude holding the camera, but there's 3 dudes behind her, and they're all dressed in black, and it's like this weird mob style looking thing, but it's very real. It's not a skit. It's not AI. It was real. And what tipped me off to it being so real was how she looked at him. Like, yeah, she was trying to leave you, and now you're telling her that you're going to cut her head off. And she's ready. She's like, go ahead, motherfucker, set me free. It was how defiant she was even right there till the end, and she didn't make a sound. He hacked at her, and she never made a noise. And after her head finally hit the ground, he spun me back around in the computer chair to face him. And he told me that's what would happen to me. That's what would happen to the kids. I stayed awake for 10 days after that. I didn't sleep. So when I finally did, I only crashed for 16 hours, I think it was. Oh, no. No. I could go back, like, in my records and figure it out, but it's so long ago now. But I want to say I slept for, like, 2 hours and then was up for another 3 days. And then slept for a couple hours, was up for 2 days. And then I finally crashed for 16 hours. That's what it was. But yeah, 10 days. I was awake for 10 days. Sitting in the chair in my garage on autopilot. Too afraid to let myself sleep. So I would just rest with my eyes open and try to shut my brain down. But still be aware of everything that was going on. Yeah, okay. Then there was when I caught him poisoning me. At this point, the other woman was actually living with us, Cassie. Now, I want to say that him putting Miracle Grow in my coffee, started before, it did. Other memory clicked. So, I've told this story already, but he came up to me one day. Ooh, woo, woo. Calm down, killer. He came up to me one day and told me that he wanted me to let him make my coffee. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, you're just making me coffee. I used to drink it all day long. Like, this is how you want to try and fucking not be a shitbag? Cool. And one day he was just taking too long. And I was on the phone. And he was taking too long, and I let me go upstairs and figure out what's going on with my coffee and figure out where he's at. I was in the basement. That was my place. So I go upstairs and I find my coffee cup sitting next to the coffee pot. Coffee's already made. It's literally fucking cold sitting there now. And I also find the spoon and this green stick that, after further investigation, ended up being Miracle Grow because I found it underneath my sink. And I had been losing a lot of weight, was feeling really sick. I was puking a lot. My hair wasn't growing right. My fingernails started doing weird shit. And I never confronted him with that. I just threw it away. Like a subtle sign of I got you. But I threw all of it away, not just the stick, but the whole box, and whatever plant food I found was gone after that. I started moving the chemicals and stuff away from the kitchen. So if something appeared in the kitchen, it was like a red flag. And at the time, he was really into Cassie, and I'm sure he was promising her all this stuff, and it was really weird with Cassie because, and other people will confirm this, I'm sure, it was weird being around her because the longer she was around me, the more I started realizing that she was trying to imitate my mannerisms, like the way that I talk with my hands, the way I eat. Like she was imitating my movements. And then she would go spend hours upstairs in the mirror trying to perfect them. Like, she told me this. Like, that was her whole morning routine, was like making faces in the mirror and doing things in the mirror, trying to like perfect the way she looked. And it was maddening. Like, I understand that imitation is the highest form of flattery, but this was weird. And I think it was because Nick told her that she had to be so like me. And it just, it was weird. I wish I could express it. It made me cringe. It gave me the willies because I would catch her doing it. I even called her out on it. And it got fucking weird. And other people were coming to me noticing that it was happening. And just the fact that it was that noticeable, I thought was pretty brazen. But, you know, he would make a big show of trying to like plan his life with her in front of me. And I knew that something was coming, but I didn't quite know what. And since I found the poison that he was putting in my coffee, making me sick, that didn't work. So that was like a fuck you to him, I guess, finding it and throwing it away. But I guess I was angry about it, and sometimes I'm petty. So I made sure he knew that I knew without saying anything about it, if that makes sense. That's the best way to put that. And not long after that was when Cassie made taco pasta.
This taco pasta stuff was disgusting. Her and Nick did not, or her son, did not eat out of the same pot that they tried to feed me and my kids. Me and my kids ate some of it. We all ate some of it. Um, but after a bite or two, we were like, no, I can't. We can't. There's something wrong with it. My dogs wouldn't even fucking eat it. Like it. And I tried. I tried to get my dogs to eat it. And they wouldn't. They sniffed it and they like wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. They looked like they were in trouble about it. It was weird. Um I'm pretty sure they tried to poison us that night. And him and Cassie planned that together. And now I guess we'll go to when he tried to strangle me to death. Um I have messages between the two of them where they had apparently discussed my death. It proves that they've had that conversation, at the very least. And I think the two of them kind of planned to get me out of the way so that he could then victimize her. And see, he wants to have, because it didn't work when he was by himself with me. And I feel like he wants to have a partner in crime before he takes me out. He doesn't want to do it on his own because he wants to hem it up on the other bitch. That's his angle. He wants somebody unstable so he can blame it on them. The story time for another day on Cassie. I'm just going to talk about when he tried to kill me. He had come home for a phone charger. I asked if we could have a conversation, and I was sitting on his lap, and he pushed me out of it. I went to reach for him to help me up, and then it was like, what are you doing, bitch? Like, he just pushed you out of his lap. Don't reach for him. Pull yourself up. And I stood up, and he gets up out of the chair, and he circles around me, and he pushes me down. And I get back up again, and at this point, I'm like, is this what we're doing? And then he pushed me down again, and I got up again in defiance, and he pushed me down again 6 times. 6 times he pushed me down. And the last ones I ended up on the couch, like he pushed me across the room. And I hit the back of my head on this wood framework of the sofa, and it kind of stunned me a little bit. And before I could get up again, he was on top of me with his hand around my neck. And he was squeezing the fucking life out of me. And I had remembered what he told me years before about how he wanted to watch the life leave somebody's eyes. And I promise you, the look on my face was the same look that woman who got beheaded gave her husband when he killed her. And I locked eyes with him. And I made him watch as the life started to fade from mine. And about the time that my eyes started to close because I was blacking out, he let go. He let go. I remember being really angry that he denied me that. Because I knew all of the stuff that has happened since then was going to happen, and probably worse. I'm still waiting for the worst. I'm still waiting for him to make good on the rest of it, you see, and I fully expect him to get tired of playing head games and shit here really soon, because my youngest daughter is almost 18, and he's gonna want to escalate this before he knows we can slip through his grasp and we can go somewhere where we are not bound by the courts. Loosening the calipers on my brakes. He did that the day before he tried to strangle me to death, and it's I know that there's been other things he's done, but that's really what he intends. He intends for something to happen so that he comes out looking like not the bad guy in the end of it. Like I said yesterday, it's been fun. We'll get there eventually.